Hello and a very warm welcome to the Ladies Club. My name is Vaylen Kirtley and it's so good to be spending time with you. Thank you for joining us as we bring you another show filled with game changers, trailblazers and champions when it comes to women's sport. So our topic today shines the spotlight on women who are making waves in the sport of basketball. Women have been playing basketball almost as long as men have, although professional women's basketball is more recent. Our country has rising stars and a number of them to outstanding women in basketball who deserve our attention, our recognition and our respect. We'd love to hear your views. Please get involved on social media. It's so easy. You can find us on Twitter at sports, at SABC, at Libomoswedi, at Vaylen Kirtley. Use our hashtag the Ladies Club. And then we're also on Facebook as SABC Sport, hashtag the Ladies Club. So I've got two very special guests, beautiful guests in studio with me today. Basketball players IPELEng Nyatlo and MODIEGI Mokoka. They join me in studio. A very good morning and welcome to the both of you.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Okay, so MODIEGI, I'm going to start with you. Why basketball?
Okay, my story is a little interesting because I wasn't initially interested in basketball at all. I was actually playing tennis when a matriculant at the time, I was in grade 8, Dakalani Mafamadi, she was very aggressive in letting me know that she felt basketball was the sport for me. And she came to one of my tennis games that Friday afternoon to let me know I would have to be playing basketball by Monday. And I went to a practice and never stopped.
And IPELEng, how did you get involved in basketball?
It was actually through a friend. At the time, I was still doing athletics. So that was like the off season of it. And I was like, let me just do something so long until the next season. And I joined and then I just kind of like fell in love with it as time went by. And then, yeah, same thing. I just never stopped after that.
MODIEGI, tennis and basketball are quite different from one another, right? Because tennis is an individual sport, and here you go and you get involved in a team sport, which then becomes your sport. What was it about basketball that you loved?
It was so different. Like, it really was different. I do have a netball background at the time. So I thought, okay, reminds me of netball. I can do this. And the difficulty of what was required of me in that moment, this is hard, I need to work on it. And I just liked the challenge. It was something I was really uncomfortable with because I'm used to just being good at whatever I do. And it was so hard that I just came back and I'm like, I'm going to prove a point and I'm going to do it better.
IPELEng, what was it about basketball that you loved and that really drew you into the sport? Because you say it took a little while for you to actually fall in love with it.
It actually was about just seeing something great and wanting to be a part of it. So also the environment, athletics is more of an individual sport. So when you're meeting different people and you get to interact at that level, it's just kind of like that atmosphere you always want to be around. So yeah, that's the reason I chose basketball.
So we're going to continue our chat in just a short while, but let's set the tone for the show with an inspiring quote. And this one comes from designer and businesswoman Maria Kutsadakis. She says, "Do not be afraid to try. Fail again, and fail better. He who takes all the risks takes all the rewards." Kutsadakis is a multiple award-winning interior designer and successful businesswoman. She is the CEO of the Life Group of companies and founder of Life Interiors Architecture Strategic Design, which basically develops luxury properties around the world. I think that's quite a nice job. It's amazing what she says, though, because many of us are hampered by our fear to actually try because we're scared of failing and nobody wants to be bad at anything. Like you said, you weren't very good at basketball, so you wanted to actually try and make sure that you developed your skill in it. But how do you feel about failing and that fear of failure?
It feels so wrong to stop. I remember the one thing that, as simple as it is, this one time I was doing athletics, right? And it was provincial level. And it was cross country. Yeah. And at one point, the course was just very hard. And I was like, well, let me just try to do something like faint or like just come up with something, right? And then my one friend didn't stop. So I stopped and the paramedics came and helped me. And at the end, when she was at the end, she finished it. And it hurt really bad that I didn't finish it and she finished it. And as simple as that looked, it's always that thing that you're going to regret it more if you stop.
I usually take on a challenge. Like I go out of my way, usually pick something that seems, what on earth would I be doing there? And just throw myself into it. You know, you tend to learn on the job. You know, you learn as you go through it. Nothing in life comes with experience. Like, so you have to gain the experience that way. So you throw yourself into it, you'll learn to swim later. And that's pretty much how I've tried to approach basketball. You know, like I used to play with the boys. I was at Pretoria Girls High. We'd go to Pretoria Boys High on Friday afternoons, get on the court, run around. You know, obviously they'll be more athletic than I am, but that means I need to be a little smarter, pick up a new skill, do something a little more different that they can't do. And that's how you should always approach life. What can I do to just better myself right now?
Do stay with us. We are speaking all about women's basketball. Welcome back, you're watching the Ladies Club. We're still with our two game changers today, IPELENG NYATLO and MODIEGI MOKOKA. IPELENG started playing basketball when she was just 12 years old, while growing up in Phokeng, Rustenburg. Today, she's making waves, one of South Africa's leading women's basketball players, representing the country in various competitions. She says she's an avid reader, a philanthropist, and she loves the great outdoors. MODIEGI, she grew up in Marulaneng village in Limpopo, later moved to Pretoria for school. She was introduced to basketball while at Pretoria Girls High while she was busy playing tennis. She's the recipient of the National All-Star Award 3 consecutive times. She won it from 2015 through to 2017. Okay, so let's speak now a little bit about actually playing the game of basketball, because you came from an athletics background, you came from a tennis background. How do you think your athletics background helped you when it came to basketball?
Athletics helped more with like mindset, mentality, because at one point, literally every single time I was running was, should I stop? No, keep going. Should I stop? So yeah. And basketball is very different in the sense that it's physical, and yeah, it's a whole different sport.
How do you think tennis and your background, I mean, I know you said you played a little bit of netball, but it's very different playing basketball, isn't it?
Mm. The adjustment wasn't as big as one would think. You know, my netball background wasn't as, maybe I'm making too light of it, because I played provincial level throughout primary school. Okay. So it was something that gave me a good backing in terms of how to play basketball. Sure. You know, the skill set that you have is more or less similar in terms of how you handle the ball. And what did help is that I was a shooter when I did play netball. So adjusting to basketball was just an issue of just the physical motions are slightly different. But there's this, it's more or less very similar. But in terms of how tennis and basketball related, for my end, a lot of thinking was required, right? So every next move is somewhat thought out. Yes, you react, but in your reaction, you still have to think about what you're about to do next. And that's how they're very similar, and it was just something that once I was a little older and better at the sport, made it so much better to excel at. Because now I've gotten into the mind frame and can make use of the thinking process of whilst playing.
IPELENG, I think if anybody wants to get involved in basketball, they would hope to be in the Phokeng region because of the Royal Bafokeng MBA program that is running there and the amount of young people that are actually exposed to the game. Do you think that helped to put you on the right trajectory to follow the path that you have in the sport?
Yes, so much, because we are actually privileged to have it. You'd go anywhere in the country and you'd see kind of like the slight difference between players coming from the Royal Bafokeng and other players from other areas. And you actually realize that how blessed we are to have all the coaching staff that are there on a daily, investing their time on the kids growing up there. And as a sport is making a whole lot of impact, because as a lot of bowlers say, it's actually like bowler's life. So as much as it's a sport, they're teaching you all the life skills that you could ever require to just go about your life on a daily.
Modiegi, you came from a region which is a sports-loving place, but not necessarily basketball.
Yeah. One of the interesting things is we have a few coaches on a national level that are really dedicated to the sport. And that's what I think has always helped with Limpopo women, that like our administration with Joseph Kazani, he's always put so much effort into making sure Limpopo women have an opportunity to play basketball. And in like the very last IPTs we had, Limpopo women, I think we won ours back to back. And it was such a thrill for him because he's put so much effort into women's basketball over 2 decades, you know, and it's just one of those things where you don't, even growing up in Marulaneng, I had no idea that I would ever end up playing basketball. But in that time frame, there was people putting so much effort into Limpopo's women's basketball. And these are the people I would then later meet. And they were literally maybe a village away the entire time.
And then you go and you win the All-Star Award for 3 consecutive years.
I would like to grant that honor to Coach Willie. So Willie Matlakala, he's been my coach for over a decade. He put me in teams I really did not deserve to be in whilst I was young, because he just genuinely believed the learning experience would be exponential on my end. And I really appreciate that. And it just came to fruition through him over the past couple of years.
The highlight would be getting to go to the Global Basketball Without Borders, which is, so you get selected from, if you attend the Basketball Without Borders in Africa.
Yeah.
So that's where they picked the few players that went there, and it's really a privilege because you have so much talent coming in to one place. So it really says a lot if you get picked. And the whole experience was just amazing. And I was always conscious that I'm actually representing not just South Africa, but Africa too. And as much as it had a lot of pressure, it was actually fun throughout. And throughout, I just had a gratitude attitude all the time.
It's a pity that more South African women will not be able to represent the country beyond a university level.
I personally do believe the next 5 years, there's a lot of growth that can still happen.
Yeah.
The administration just needs to fix up, just as many of our administrations do in this nation. And it's not a feat that's impossible. We still have quite a few opportunities to fix the grassroots level.
Yeah.
And then connect that to the next level and move on and stuff.
But do we have the type of people in the country in terms of being suited for basketball? Because basketball, you think of it as a sport and you think you just need the tallest people.
If you're going to look at physicality in terms of basketball, right, you would assume height would be the be-all and end-all. We do have quite a few tall people, men, women, they are there. But you still need a large degree of skill. And skill can always be taught because skill is repetitive, right? So if you just base it on height, you're going to lose out on a whole demographic of potentially amazing kids that could be great at basketball.
Yeah.
So one should always understand that practice will truly determine the skill set one actually has at the end of the day.
And that's something actually that we've seen in the region where you grew up, was that you've gone into a region where the people generally are a bit smaller, but they're incredibly skillful. And especially if you teach them in the right way with top quality coaches, then you are able to see the results that they have been as part of that program.
I've lived it. I'm the true proof of that they actually, with the investment that they make on themselves, and they impart it to us, and it just makes us play in the way that we play because they chose to invest in themselves and are able to train us at a level that is required.
Do stay in touch on social media. It's so easy. Hashtag the Ladies Club. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. You're watching the Ladies Club. Our game changers remain in studio as we focus in on women's basketball. But it's time now to take a look at the movers and shakers who have paved the way for, among them, our game changers. And that's when we look at our trailblazer. Our trailblazer today is Clarice Mashangwana, a highly accomplished basketball player from Mozambique. She has played internationally in both the United States and in Spain, and also represented her nation at the 2006 Lusophony Games in Macau, China. She's a successful role model and example of determination and dedication, with the potential to influence an entire generation of youth with her visionary spirit. She had a childhood dream of becoming a lawyer, but instead her height and dexterity allowed her a 22-year career in professional basketball. The Ladies Club salutes this amazing trailblazer. So I'd like to know from our game changers today, IPELENG, who was your main role model, would you say, when it comes to basketball?
I think Scarlett Diggins. Scarlett Diggins would be, and that's the reason I wear the jersey number that I wear. And you know, when you have a role model, you try mirror every single thing that they do, or even if you have other players that you like looking up to, it's just there's just that one that you always look up to, and that for me is her.
And Modiegi, who would you say is your role model?
I know most people tend to have another player as a role model. Mine was my actual grade 8 coach, Victor Shakineza. He just had the most amazing jump shot, and I spent my whole life trying to emulate it. And I loved how he played, how he coached, how he spoke to us as a team. And I hope, and sometimes I really do hope I do this myself when I do coach my under-14s. So he's just been, I think, concrete, set in how I have played my game. And I really do get that most people, like, I know Kobe is always an influence for most people, but this man shaped how I play, and he's always just been my influence.
Has that got anything to do with the fact that you're in a career when it comes to building? So you're all about the foundation, laying the right foundations.
It could be. You never truly know the impact of everything around you. You know. So, and he always, every single practice we had, he was adamant about your foundation is everything. Everything you do as your base is everything. And I still take that on today. And perhaps constantly hearing foundation in the background was cementing that I'm going to end up in construction.
I'm going to ask you how you manage everything in your life and fit it all in, because I heard there that you're also coaching. But I'd love to know from you, IPELENG, because you're turning 21 this year. You're very busy when it comes to basketball, more visions of representing South Africa, but then you're also involved in a very difficult degree. How do you actually manage it all?
Planning. At first, I used to take it so lightly, be like, I'm going to start this day, and then I'm going to take it as it comes. And it used to feel so overwhelming. So then it came a thing of like, even if it's not direct, I should have a glimpse of how my week is going to look like, if we have a tournament during that time and all of that. And that kind of forced me to actually want to always plan. So that's my go-to thing that makes me manage everything, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, time management is something that I think you learned very early on. I see you nodding furiously, Modiegi.
Yeah, no, but the juniors know. It's one of the things I used to actually get upset with them about once they'd get to Wits. I understand the change environment is very overwhelming to a lot of them. And a big part of it that they don't understand is no one's going to chase you. Like, no one really cares. But you still need to show up. You need to make your classes. You need to prepare for your tests. And you still need to show up for practice and still show up for your games. Because you can't have commitments and not attend to any of them. Because one of the things sports teaches you is time management and how to actually meet your commitments. And that's just a life skill that I think most scholars really and truly take for granted. You know, in high school, everything is still structured for you. You go to this class, you go to that class, then you go to your sporting event. Once you leave that comfort zone and you get to university, you're free. You know, you just do whatever you want at this point. And they know I've always been hard on them about excuses. We can't have excuses when you know you and I have the same 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great freedom, but it comes with a massive concrete block of responsibility.
Always. Yeah.
So now explain to me how you manage everything. Are you still playing? You said that you're also coaching some girls, and I know you've gotten some of the Pretoria old girls together with the team.
Yeah.
So explain to us a little bit about your current involvement with basketball.
For the past 5 years, I've been with KIS, which is actually a boys' high school, and I've had the under 14 boys. I started with under 15s, and then obviously we shuffle around, see what's the best fit, who can teach who at which level best. And I've just been with the under 14 boys for the past 5 years, and love it. I would love to teach some girls though. It's just unfortunate that we don't have as many girls' schools partaking in Johannesburg.
Okay.
But then outside the region, from 10 years ago to now, you do have more girls' schools actually playing basketball, which is great for the sport. So I just try and manage my time as best as I can. I coach, I play, I study, I work.
Oh. IPELENG, you took a very big deep breath. She makes it sound quite easy, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
So tell me, what are some of your big dreams when it comes to basketball? Because our national women's team haven't been active for the last 2 years, so the only way for women's basketball players to represent their country is through the university, which you're still in that structure.
Yeah, so for myself would be playing at an international level and maybe in one of the European leagues, but that would entirely be based on my current studies right now, so depending on what the time frames. So, but that is ultimately my biggest goals in terms of basketball.
What are you doing to be able to achieve that? Are you going for trials overseas? Have you been in contact with some agents? Because it must be an incredibly difficult scene to actually break into if you haven't gone to college in America.
Yes, true. I actually have a coach who is actually very good at that, because that's how it actually happens when you actually know someone from a certain school, and then obviously you go back and forth in terms of sending videos in, trying to compile every single thing that can, put you out there and actually. So something related to that I'm doing at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of respect to being still pursuing your dream, as well as making sure that you are getting education, getting qualification behind your name, and you know just how important that is. What would you say is your motto in life?
Try. Because nothing is worse than regret. Just try. So and I've lived by that, and I try as well to impart that on all the juniors that ever come my way and all my time at Wits. You need to get yourself involved. You need to throw yourself in there, because at the end of the day, you're going to look back and wish you had. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than knowing you can't turn back time.
What is your motto in life?
Living in the moment. So I'd be here and I'd be thinking about something else and actually not be here. So for myself, it's just being present at all times. So that's how you don't miss out, or you wish you could have done more or anything. So, but when you're present, you're more aware of where you are, what you're doing, and everything. So for myself, is living in the moment.
It's one of the greatest gifts you can give to other people and to yourself, is
Yes.
being completely present and completely there with them. Guys, it's been great to chat to you. I wish we had a little bit more time. Unfortunately, we don't. But thank you so much for coming into studio and chatting to us, and all the best of luck with all the big plans that you guys have got.
Thank you for hosting us.
All right, that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you for spending some time with the Ladies Club and our entire team. You're welcome to send us your ideas of trailblazers, stories about women that inspire you. Our social media details, they're on the screen, so you can get in touch. And who knows, you may become a part of the show. Until we meet again, remember that greatness is earned and never given. From myself, Vaylen Kirtley, and the entire Ladies Club team, goodbye until we meet again.